As we speak, the Republicans are voting in the House to pass a clean Homeland Security funding bill. I hope it all goes well. They have a couple of votes to get to where we need to be. So I'm really glad to see my Republican colleagues doing the right thing and keeping faith with the men and women of our country who protect our shores and defend our national security. But I do hope we've all learned the right lessons from this experience. This crisis was completely unnecessary. In the future, I hope we can avoid those kinds of knockdown, drag-out fights and work together for the good of the American people, especially the middle class. Senator Schumer has to go to a meeting as a ranking member on the Judiciary Subcommittee on Immigration. Hearing starts in just a couple minutes.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank my colleague Dick Durbin for his courtesy. And I, too, want to thank our Republican colleagues in the House for finally agreeing to fund Homeland Security. The last few weeks were like living in the Twilight Zone, in which Republicans, who pride themselves on being pro-national security, were unwilling to do what's right to keep America safe. I'm glad these days are over, pleased that the department will be fully funded, but I also shudder for the future of this Congress. We have big things to do this year. We need to pass a highway bill. We have to raise the debt ceiling. And in less than several short months, we have to fund the entire federal government. And that's what we just have to do to keep the lights on. It doesn't even begin to address the legislation we need to pass to help the middle class. Now, we Democrats stand by, ready and willing to work with our Republican colleagues to get all these things done, but we need a partner. If the Republicans are going to let the hard right of their caucus yank them around, as they did on the DHS funding bill, I fear that every one of these must-pass bills will become a new cliff full of brinksmanship and unnecessary drama. Republicans must learn the right lessons from this past month. Do not hold hostage government funding for your own political goals. Do not expect Democrats to go along with your hostage-taking, and do not follow the playbook of the right wing of your party. Doing those things will only lead to dead ends, political defeat, and unnecessary brinksmanship. Hopefully, Speaker Boehner will realize after this debate that the path towards legislative and political cess runs through Democrats, not through the far-right fringe of his caucus. Thank you. Thanks, Dick.
Senator Durbin.
We were told early on when the Republican majority was announced that they were going to teach us how to govern, and they were going to show the American public that their ideas were not scary ideas. Remember that? That was what we were told. So what did we learn about their process of governing? It was lurching from one government shutdown to another one. Thank goodness it's coming to an end today, or appears to be, in the House of Representatives. We are finally going to fund this critically important agency. In terms of not being scary, I think it is pretty scary when you don't fund the Department of Homeland Security. Of all the agencies of government, this one protects us from terrorism. And for reasons I'll never understand, the far right of the House Republicans decided to make this their centerpiece in terms of their argument on immigration. It was not a thoughtful strategy, and it wasn't a safe strategy for America. So now it's time to get down to the business of governing. Let's see if we can get it right from this point forward. There are a lot of things that we absolutely have to do. We're going through some pro forma things this week on NLRB and others, but we've got a more basic responsibility. A budget for the government of the United States of America, the beginning of appropriation bills. All of these things will call on us to be bipartisan, not to mention the Highway Trust Fund, which we know needs to be funded to create millions of jobs across America. I can't believe that we have lurched from one threatened government shutdown to another one, but maybe they got it out of their system. Maybe now we can govern.
Senator Murray was also involved with other matters here and not with us today.
Senator Reid?
Yeah.
Do you think that Netanyahu's speech this morning is going to make it more difficult for the president to win public support for a deal with Iran?
Senator Durbin and I are going to a meeting with him in just 25 minutes. I'll have a statement after that meeting. I think it's inappropriate for me to go have a meeting with him to start criticizing his speech. I'll say whatever I feel I need to at the meeting at 3 o'clock.
Senator Reid, you've been in government an awful long time. Do you think it's inappropriate for Secretary Clinton to have served 4 years as Secretary of State and only used a private email?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
Do you think it was inappropriate
I don't know what she used. I don't know. People will look into it. I don't know what email she used or didn't use.
What do you think of this Parker bill to require congressional approval for the bond deal? Was your caucus going to open debate on that?
We have a number of moving targets. We spent a lot of our caucus talking about those today. Why don't we wait until we see what happens? We have just 3 weeks left, as I understand, and we should know whether we're going to have a deal with the Iranians. Once that's done, there's some legislation would take effect. Some of the legislation takes effect even before a deal is negotiated. But I personally am just going to wait and see what happens, whether we have a deal, and then look at all the legislation at that time.
Do you believe this fight over DHS funding and the outcome now, which is going to be a clean bill, sets the tone for the remainder of the legislative battles to come on government funding and the debt limit? In other words, do you have a message?
Well, I hope, and I think Senator Durbin and Schumer said it very well, I hope not. I would hope that they've learned a lesson. Learned a lesson. They're going to have a vote over there today, and they're going to let Democrats vote on it. And it's going to pass. I predict it's going to pass. Clean funding of Homeland Security will pass. Senator Durbin and I came to the House together. When we came there wasn't any of this vote majority to majority. You found out how you get 218 votes. That's where we should be in the House of Representatives. They have the small, vocal, right-wing, somewhat strange minority they have over there shouldn't be running the House of Representatives.
Senator Reid, you were a Capitol Police officer many, many years ago.
Wasn't that long ago. My badge was 369.
It's still in your office, I guess.
Sure is.
Have you had an opportunity or been involved in any of these, seen any of these situations that have happened with the Capitol Police, like during the State of the Union or anything else that you've had a chance to look into at all?
I do everything I can to be a stalwart defender and protector of the Capitol Police. They have a job that is very, very difficult. We see the uniformed people trying to help us, and they do help us. But in addition to that, we have all kinds of other Capitol Police that are doing things to make this place safe. And I try not to be critical. If I am critical, it's constructive in nature. And I'm not going to be picking apart something that's somebody that doesn't like the chief or the sergeant at arms. I'm not going to get into that. I think they do a masterful job. I support the chief of police. I support the new sergeant at arms. I support the old sergeant at arms. I'm for a strong Capitol Police. We need to give them more resources rather than less.
Senator, you said that you'd like to wait for a deal, given that the majority leader just announced that they'll be debating the Corker legislation on the floor next week. Will you be opposing that legislation?
Well, you have to, as we learned, and I hope he learned, saying you're going to be debating something doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen.